If you play The Sims 4, you probably own a few pieces of DLC, and if you're hardcore, you own all 77 pieces of DLC The Sims 4 currently offers. If you don't own any downloadable content, you probably have a packed mods folder, filled with different custom content and mods, because if you play The Sims 4, you know how painful it is to play base game. So to expand your gameplay, The Sims 4 currently offers 17 expansion packs on top of 12 smaller game packs, 20 stuff packs, and 39 kits. If you do the math, all of the packs cost a whopping $1,867.12 before taxes, and if you were unfortunate enough to buy The Sims 4 base game before it became free in October 2022, like myself, you would have had to pay about $80 on top of that, which brings us to a grand total of $1,947.12. With a price like that, it's not surprising that base game was made free to play, when the sales of DLC alone is probably more than enough to support the franchise. But when you take away all the extra content that DLC and mods provide, what's left? For science, I very reluctantly disabled all my mods and DLC to play The Sims 4 just as the EA gods didn't intend. Let's start with Create a Sim. Right away you can see the very limited base game options that haven't really been updated since release. The options are pretty plain and don't really give a sim much of a personality. But when we look at Create a Sim with all my mods and custom content installed, you can see what I mean by giving sims a personality through the way they're dressed. The difference is like night and day. The left is clearly outdated and limited, while the right is much more trendy and has so many more customization options. The way people dress is a form of self-expression that speaks to who they are, and in a simulation game like The Sims 4, customization is such an important part of gameplay. But I don't know how players are supposed to create unique sims with the lack of options in base game. After making my sim, it's time to move her into a home, and this is what we get. A total of 3 worlds compared to the total of 27 we get with DLC. I guess EA thought 3 vibrant worlds was more than enough to explore. Now let's say I want to decorate this rather bland starter home for my sim. Just like in Create a Sim, there's not a lot of attractive decoration options. The way someone decorates their home is another way people express themselves, but in base game, there just aren't enough options to be expressive. There's just no way anyone could build the perfect home like this. But when I decorate with my DLC and mods installed, you can clearly see how many more options I have in comparison. Not only am I on a special apartment lot that's available with City Living, but I'm able to incorporate so much more of my Sims' taste and personality into the lot. Here, it feels much more like a home than the house I decorated in base game. Just look at the difference. The paywalling of possibilities doesn't end with customization, but affect gameplay as well, as all Sim players are aware. For example, if you want your sim to become a famous actor, you have to buy the Get Famous expansion pack for $54.99. If you want your sim to be a good parent, you need to buy the Parenthood game pack for $29.99. And if you just want to do the laundry, you still have to buy the Laundry Day stuff pack for $14.99. Just look at the differences in the calendars. With base game on the left and DLC on the right, you can't deny that there's a massive difference in gameplay. With so much DLC, you might wonder what the most owned packs are. At the end of 2024, Sims YouTuber James Turner conducted a survey of 15,000 Sims 4 players to see what the best and most owned packs are. In third place, 89.2% of surveyed players owned City Living, which adds apartments and a new downtown world to the game. In second, with 91.3%, we have Cats and Dogs, which allows Sims to adopt pets. And finally, in first place with a whopping 94.3% is Seasons, which adds weather and a season system. None of these features sound all that mind-blowing, but when added to base game, they create a much more realistic and engaging experience. People want to play with life, it's just that the Sims 4 base game doesn't allow them to. And this is coming from someone who has DLC and mods because I know how boring base game is. If players have to rely so heavily on all this extra content just to experience the alleged endless possibilities EA promotes, then it's just an arguably bad game. We've gotten so used to the DLC culture of The Sims that some players just welcome new packs with open arms without really questioning why is this a pack in the first place. Why do we have to pay for new worlds or for new clothing and furniture options instead of them just being free updates? Why aren't seasons already part of base game? Why do we have to pay $54.99 just to have weather in the game when other games like Inzoi have weather and seasons directly in their base game? It's because EA knows that their players are willing to pay for new content to improve the bare minimum gameplay of base game, and now they're getting away with repackaging concepts from older DLC to sell them in brand new packs. When City Living released in 2016, their whole selling point was the unique apartment lots that came with the downtown world of San Myshuno. But then in 2020, apartments were also included in Eco Living. And in 2023, the For Rent expansion pack allowed Sims to become landlords and build their own rental properties without being restricted to the pre-made apartment buildings in City Living. So instead of getting a free update for City Living, we have to pay another $54.99 for the For Rent pack. This is a business model that has worked great for EA, but players are sick of how greedy EA is with all their DLC. It just sucks that DLC is pretty much needed if you actually want to have fun. So I don't blame you if you want to buy DLC. Just a word of advice, wait for a sale before you buy anything and save yourself some money.